Have you ever looked at your reflection and seen a fraud? Despite a list of achievements, a nagging voice insists you've just been lucky. That any moment, you'll be exposed. Or perhaps you've met the opposite. Someone so unshakably confident in their expertise, yet so obviously out of their depth. How can such different realities exist within the human mind? These aren't just quirks of personality. They are well-documented psychological phenomena. Two sides of the same, fascinating coin of self-perception. Today, we journey into the landscape of our own minds to understand the Dunning-Kruger effect and impostor syndrome, and to find the path to a more honest and powerful sense of self. Let's begin with a story from Cornell University in 1995. A man named MacArthur Wheeler robbed two banks in broad daylight. He didn't wear a mask. He smiled at the surveillance cameras. When police showed him the security tapes, he was genuinely shocked. He muttered, "But I wore the juice." He believed that rubbing lemon juice on his face would make him invisible to cameras. This bizarre case caught the attention of two psychologists, David Dunning and his graduate student, Dunning-Kruger. They wondered, could it be that some people are not just incompetent, but that their incompetence robs them of the ability to even recognize it? This led to their landmark 1999 study. They tested students on logic, grammar, and even humor. And what they found was a cognitive bias that now bears their names: the Dunning-Kruger effect. In simple terms, it's a curve of confidence. When you know very little about a subject, you have very little frame of reference. You don't know what you don't know. And so, you dramatically overestimate your own ability. This graph tells the whole story. That initial peak of overconfidence is sometimes jokingly called Mount Stupid. It's the land of the amateur who, after one guitar lesson, thinks they're ready for a world tour. It's not arrogance, but a genuine blind spot. This is the first stage of learning unconscious incompetence. You're bad at something, and you don't even know it. The very skills required to be a good judge of ability are the same skills required to have that ability in the first place. Then, as you learn more, something painful happens. You begin to realize the vastness of your own ignorance. You tumble from the peak of Mount Stupid into the valley of despair. This is conscious incompetence. You know that you don't know. This valley is where most people give up. But for those who persist, the climb begins again. You enter conscious competence. You can do the thing, but it takes focus and deliberate effort. And finally, with enough practice, you might reach the last stage, unconscious competence. The skill becomes second nature, like breathing. You're so good, you don't even have to think about it. Ironically, this is where the Dunning-Kruger effect flips. Experts in this stage often assume that tasks which are easy for them must be easy for everyone else, too. They begin to underestimate their own relative competence. But what about the other end of the spectrum? What about the people who are objectively competent, even experts, yet feel like they know nothing at all? This brings us to impostor syndrome. The term was first coined in 1978. Psychologists Pauline Rose Sealance and Susan Imes were studying high-achieving women. They noticed a strange pattern. Despite accolades and clear evidence of their success, these women felt like fakes. Impostor syndrome is the persistent, internal feeling that you haven't earned your success. You believe your accomplishments are the result of luck, timing, or tricking people into thinking you're smarter and more capable than you really are. It's a surprisingly common feeling, even among the greatest minds in history. Albert Einstein himself once said, "The exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler." The author Maya Angelou, despite her countless awards, once confessed, "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out." Researchers have identified several types of imposter. There's the perfectionist, who sets impossibly high standards. When they achieve 99% of their goal, they focus on that 1% failure, seeing it as proof of their fraudulence. There's the soloist, who feels they must accomplish everything on their own. If they need to ask for help, they see it as a sign of weakness and a failure to live up to the imposter image they're projecting. Their mantra is, I must do it all myself. Then there's the expert. This person feels they need to know every single piece of information before they start a project. They constantly seek out new training or certifications, fearing they'll be exposed as inexperienced. We also have the superhero. They feel they must be a master of every role they play in life. As a parent, a partner, a professional, a friend, they push themselves to work harder than those around them to prove they're not imposters. So here we have these two powerful forces. One that inflates confidence beyond competence, and one that deflates it, despite overwhelming evidence. They seem like opposites, but they both stem from a distorted self-assessment. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a problem of metacognition. It's a deficit in the ability to think about one's own thinking. Impostor syndrome, on the other hand, is an emotional problem. It persists even when metacognition is high, fueled by anxiety and perfectionism. To understand this better, we can look at attribution theory. This is the study of how we explain the causes of events. We can attribute things to internal factors, like our own skill, or external factors, like luck or the situation. Someone deep in the Dunning-Kruger effect might attribute their successes internally. I passed the test because I'm smart, and they'll attribute their failures externally. I failed because the test was unfair. Someone with imposter syndrome does the exact opposite. They attribute success externally. I got the promotion because I was lucky, or they must have been desperate. And they attribute failure internally, seeing it as proof of their core incompetence. I failed because I'm not good enough. This is where the work of psychologist Albert Bandura becomes crucial. He introduced the concept of self-efficacy. This isn't self-esteem, which is about your sense of self-worth. Self-efficacy is your belief in your own ability to succeed in specific situations. A healthy self-efficacy is grounded in reality. It's the quiet confidence that you can learn, adapt, and handle challenges. In Dunning-Kruger, self-efficacy is inflated unfragile. In impostor syndrome, it's chronically underestimated. So, how do we escape these traps? How do we calibrate our internal compass to point towards true north? The most powerful tool we have is the cultivation of a growth mindset. Popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, this idea splits the world in two. Those with a fixed mindset believe their intelligence and abilities are static traits. You're either smart, or you're not. You're either good at something, or you're not. Those with a growth mindset believe their abilities can be developed. They see challenges as opportunities to learn. They understand that effort, strategy, and help from others can lead to mastery. Failure isn't a verdict. It's part of the process. For the person on Mount Stupid, a growth mindset is the cure for their blind spot. It replaces the need to be right with the desire to learn. It makes them ask, what am I missing? What can I learn from someone who knows more? It fosters intellectual humility. For the person suffering from imposter syndrome, a growth mindset is a lifeline. It reframes their narrative. Success isn't about luck. It's the result of the effort they put in. Failure isn't proof of being a fraud. It's simply a data point on the path to getting better. So, what are the practical steps? First, develop your metacognitive skills. Start a practice of self-reflection. Ask yourself, why do I believe this about myself? What is the evidence for and against this belief? Second, actively seek and learn to accept objective feedback. The antidote to a distorted self-perception is the clear mirror of reality. Find trusted mentors, peers, or managers who can give you honest, constructive input. This grounds both overconfidence and self-doubt. Third, embrace deliberate practice. Don't just go through the motions. Focus on specific areas for improvement. This is how you genuinely build skill, moving you methodically. From unconscious incompetence toward mastery, true confidence is a byproduct of proven competence. And finally, a step that might be the hardest but most rewarding. Embrace vulnerability. Admit when you don't know something. Share your feelings of self-doubt with people you trust. You will quickly find that you are not alone. Vulnerability dismantles the fraud narrative of imposter syndrome, and it opens the door to learning for the person who thought they knew it all. It connects us. The journey of self-discovery is not about arriving at a destination where you have perfect, unshakable confidence. It's about the ongoing process of calibration. It's about learning to hold your own perception with a little more curiosity. Understanding the Dunning-Kruger effect and impostor syndrome is more than just a psychology lesson. It's a map that can guide you out of the fog of self-deception and self-doubt. It's a tool for building a confidence that is resilient, honest, unearned. By fostering intellectual humility and embracing the journey of growth, you don't just become more competent, you become wiser. And you unlock the potential that was there all along.